Welcome back to an athlete's journey. And today I got a special guest, somebody who is very near and dear to my heart. And what she does is very near and dear to my heart. She is what you call a sports mom and a basketball mom at that. I mean, my mom was the same way. She was driving me places, driving me to practice. My dad had to work. Obviously, my dad was the main figure, but my mom was just as important in the growth of my life. And she's playing mom and dad. And so with her, like she has to really, really do it. So, whenever it happens, maybe in 2 years, maybe in five, when she's sitting on that lottery in New York, doing the high five or, like the screaming, hugging, my son made it, she remember us small folks, that did a thing. But please introduce yourself to the people.
My name is Andrea Thunder. I am the proud mom of number 21, Chris Rupert, over at St. Bernard's High School in Playa del Rey,
Yes,
class of 2027.
yeah. Chris is one of the top juniors in the country. He's getting scholarships from all over. If you look up his name, like I said, you'll see a lot of interest from a lot of things. I've looked it up. You can look it up. Like I said, he's gonna be a big time player. He works out with my homeboy Chad Bell, who coaches with the Clippers. 5 a.m. workouts. Like I said, I respect him, and like I said, I respect his mom and what they're doing together. So, a quick background about yourself. I know that you played a little hoop. Uh,
Actually, I did not play basketball. I played 8 years of volleyball.
Volleyball. I'm sorry, I meant
Yeah.
hoop in the sense of she played sports. Now,
Yes,
what made you, since you played volleyball? Obviously, your son could have played volleyball.
could
Um,
have.
what made you put him into basketball growing up?
Actually, it was it's a very interesting story. We had relocated to Rapid City, South Dakota after my mother had passed away in 2020. And Rapid City, South Dakota is a very small place, not too
Uh,
much to do.
Oh, I lived in North Dakota. I know. So yeah.
Yeah. And one day, he was just sitting in his room, and I had noticed that over the summer he had went from about 6 feet tall to 6'3" in like 3 months. And I played volleyball. His dad played football.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and I was wondering, like, I wonder if he could actually shoot a ball. And they had a local gym, Rapid Skills, ran by AJ Zalakoffer at the time. Um, Owned and ran by AJ Zalakoffer. And I walked him in there and hailed all the men down and was like, "Could anybody teach my son how to play basketball?" And they were like, "Oh my God, how old is he?" And I was like, "He's 13." And there he's like 6'3". Um, Everything just came so naturally. Like he obviously was like a Bambi. That was his nickname for a long time. They called him Avatar because he couldn't move very well in his new body. But
Hmm.
within about 6 months, he was playing 17U and traveling throughout the United States.
Well, there you go. Like I said, I think, players like Chris, like I said, he comes from a strong background, like where, obviously you've raised him. And we need to make sure we give the flowers to moms too. Because like I said, like moms do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, that people don't really talk about as much. So I definitely want to. I mean, don't get me wrong. We always celebrate our mothers, but
Oh, yes.
but sports moms, like trust me, like I have a son that's the same age as Chris, and he had to do the AAU. Obviously, not on the highest level as Chris was, but I was driving to Mission Viejo and all these other places, paying $45 to get in places, and 25 for parking, 20 to get in. So yeah, that's hard. And you doing that every single weekend or every single
Yes.
day, whatever the case is, like that's
Yeah.
really hard.
Well, over the months after learning the system, I did find my way inside of gyms where I was not paying those
Yeah, that's a typical
wristband
woman
fees.
thing. Typical, like men have
But
to pay, women ain't
you
paying.
know what? I built really strong relationships with a lot of the coaches, to where they always looked out for me, and I will always appreciate that. But you are not lying at all. We have traveled 12-hour drives to different states for him to play in competitions and tournaments. He's gone all the way to China. He's gone all the way to Hawaii. I didn't go to China, but I definitely went to Hawaii. And after some years, that all adds up. If I ever sat down with a calculator, it'd be in the high numbers of how much it really does cost to support any sports players' dreams.
No, definitely. Like I said, like me and Andrea, like we're friends, and I don't even remember how I met her, but I just was like, I was just, like we met, and then like I said, she said she had a son that was the same age as mine, and I literally just started checking her out and then checking his highlights from there. And I really feel like, with what she's doing, and like I said, all the traveling, because trust me, y'all, she's called me from Arizona, she's called me from Hawaii, she's called me from all these places. Yeah, I'm here at this, BCI tournament. I'm here at this, Peach Basket. I'm here at this. I'm like, man, you got the frequent flyer miles for real. You know what I'm saying? You know
Over
what I'm saying?
time, yes.
Yeah, like, she should be almost at a million, a million miles. You know,
Actually, I do have a couple points where I have some expense keys lined up for myself, but I'll be using those this spring.
okay,
So,
okay, okay. Well, I do want to get into something that we was discussing off camera. Uh and we talked about, how you were saying that team, like they have favorites who they want to see, right?
mhm,
And they have names of players that they want to see, and that's politics in sports is about the same as everything. If a person has a quote unquote name and they
mhm,
made a mixtape name at that, they want them to advance. They want them to really like be in the championship games, quote unquote.
mhm,
Um, with Chris being an all-around player, which was he is, he's a rebounds, he blocks shots, he's a good passer, good, has a good fundamentals. Um, but maybe not necessarily a highlight kind of player.
right.
How do you feel about that, and how do you feel about kind of like the politics of high school basketball?
I've grown to love it. When I first moved to California, I realized that everything was going to be a lot different than it was back in the Midwest because we're from Chicago, but he was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I would say that in the Midwest, they really go for the players that are the players and that show themselves on and off the court. California is a little bit different. It's more of a Hollywood highlight, and I don't knock it at all. I did have to learn it. It can be difficult at times because I think that there's a lot of kids, including my son, that may sometimes get overlooked in certain tournaments and certain games based off of who they're playing against. And in the beginning, I questioned it a lot, but then I studied it because everything I don't understand, I'm going to study and try to figure out why this happens instead of being upset about it. And I just realized that when you're a hot commodity at that time and you are so-called on the radar, there's nothing that anybody can really do about it. You're just that hot. And I notice it always goes by certain ages and certain grade levels. So as many times as it may have been frustrating for myself or other moms that I know that have amazing players, um, our time is up next. So you just have to improve yourself. You have to work hard. You have to stay focused. You have to make sure that all your reactions are calculated and that people are always going to be watching you because you are literally up next. Do I think it's fair? Absolutely not. But um, I've just learned to not focus so much on what's going on in high school and really prepare my son for what's going to be happening for him when he goes into the NBA. Because I always tell him this is not your end point. So if anybody wants to be a high school superstar, fantastic, that's great. Your goal is the NBA. Work through this, learn from them, play with them, you know what I mean? Ask for advice from their coaches, their fathers, whoever they're around, their mentors, and take that with you on your journey.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that, and you're right. Like I said, some kids, this is it for them. Even the superstar kids. Like I grew up with the one of the biggest, if not the one of the biggest California names in California history, and a player by the name of Shea Cotton, and he had a name since the fifth grade, you know. And I remember my junior year. This is kind of a funny story and ironic, for Chris, was that we played them in the playoffs my junior year in the quarterfinals. Now there was a player by the name of Corey Benjamin who was a McDonald's All-American, the number one player in the state of California, and they really wanted the number one senior versus the number one junior,
Hmm.
right? And like I said, we were standing in their way, and they was like, Travis is good, but he ain't on Shea level, and like his team is good, but like we want Bosco to make sure we win. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that they cheated us or anything like that, but I felt like, yeah, they wanted to see that matchup.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They wanted to
Yeah.
see that matchup of the number one senior in the number one senior in California versus the number one junior. Now, obviously, Corey and them beat Shea, and they went on and lost in the semifinals or whatever, or whatever it was, But like, I just remember that game of like, what? My junior year was so. I felt I could have
Hmm.
played better, but it made me work that much harder for my senior year to become one of the best players in the country, whatever at that time.
Hmm.
And you know what I'm saying? So I think like this is my opinion. I think that like Chris can do that same trajectory of make a huge jump from wherever he is, like top 50, 60, whatever in the country, to like top 20, top 15.
Hmm.
I think he can make it, like just use this second round of, quarterfinal loss to motivation.
Right. And I always think about how far he's come within a year. As you know, his sophomore year, he was at Redondo. He didn't get any play time at all. No one ever knew anything about him. They just saw this 6'10" kid on the court and they're like, what's wrong? Like, why isn't he playing? Um, Back pocket rules are crazy. But I understand the politics of it and I, just moved on from it. But I really commend my son for going from someone who played barely 2 minutes an entire game to now having triple doubles every game that he was in this past season. And I couldn't be more proud, but it was a hidden gem. And
Mm-hmm,
I
mm-hmm,
always give so much credit to Coach Bernard Crumby at St. Bernard's High School for giving my son that opportunity to shine the way he saw him, when he first met him. Now, will his senior year be crazy? Oh, most definitely. Most definitely. We're going for all the championships. But it was a learning lesson. It was a very big learning lesson. So, now he goes forward knowing that no matter what team you're in, there always may be that one coach that just will not play you. What do you do in that situation? Is it fight or flight? You got to fight. So that's why we're up at 5 a.m. every morning.
Hey, like I said, I respect that. I respect Chris. I respect you, and like I said, I respect what you're teaching him. Behind every great man there is a great woman, and behind every great son there's a great mother. Who's teaching him the rules of the trade, the tricks of the trade, telling him what he needs to hear so he can be special. Now,
Mhm.
this isn't, like breaking news or anything on my show, but does Chris have a top 10, a top 15 of schools that he's looking at and is looking at him?
I I I would say that there's a lot of schools on the West Coast that are looking at him. A few schools back home in the Midwest, but his top schools are Baylor, um, Duke. Obviously, he's loved Duke since he figured out how to really play basketball. Kentucky, um, Florida State, Georgia State. He had an interest, and I hate to say it, and I know you'll love it, but he definitely has an interest in UCLA. And I'll just say that
Woo!
lightly.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so, depending on what happens, whatever happens, happens. But yeah, yeah, he's got some really good schools that he's interested in. I'm just gonna see what happens this summer. Even this season isn't over yet. I know that I've been told he's on the radar for a lot of schools out here on the West Coast, like UC Irvine, obviously, and um, Santa Barbara and USC and um, whatever other schools are in California.
Long Beach State,
Yes. Oh,
Long Beach State too.
yes. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
No, definitely. I'm like I said, I'm excited for him. I'm excited for my son. I wish they would play each other. You know what I'm saying? So I can, give you some mess if my son team beat Christie, upset City. No, no. But yeah, like I said, I'm excited. For what the future holds for the both of you, and yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens. Like because I feel like the summer is when, like the spring is when it started for me, my
Hmm.
senior year. So like we back then we had a Victoria Park League. It was at Dominguez High School. So all the top, all the players were playing. It's like Slammer Jam League.
Hmm.
And so like I was like, I'm about to destroy this. I'm about to show like my junior year was a fluke. I'm about to dominate. And so like that was the start of it. And then the summer started. And then like obviously back then it was like, it was obviously it's more camps now. But
Right.
like back then it was Nike camp, Adidas camp, and like Adidas ABC camp and the Dana Pump, double
Oh,
pump camp.
okay.
Yeah. So those three camps, I didn't go to ABC and Nike at the same time, but I went to back like Nike camp to literally got off the plane. My dad drove me to the Dana Pump camp, and I was like, I'm about to just destroy this, man. I'm about to put my name. So I had good camps both, and my name kind of shot up from like I said, from where I was to almost making the McDonald's team. So
Hmm.
I'm like I said, I'm excited for Chris. I think that he's going to do well this year. His skills translate to the next level, really good, especially the way basketball is now. You need to have guys who are athletic, shot blockers, but also can score, a little bit. So I think Chris, to be honest, like I think he could be a starter on UCLA, right now.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank
I
you.
think I think his game is that good. And I'm not gassing because it's you on this podcast. I've seen him play, and I've seen UCLA play, so I definitely would know.
Well, I would definitely have to give a lot of credit to Chad Bell because he's always in the gym with him and giving him a lot of pointers to prepare him for the next level, collegiate level, and the NBA. Um, and I can't stress that enough for him because I always remind my son, like, you're going to the NBA. And I feed it to him constantly. And
That's
sometimes he
good.
looks
That's
at me
good.
like, okay, but then sometimes we have car rides. He's like, I'm going to the NBA. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
yes, you
yeah.
are.
Well, that's good. Like I said, I think I wanted to get into one more thing with you. Like we talked about it offline, so I just it just came back into my mind.
Hmm.
Um, your son is raised in a YouTube clickbait, world star, not world star, ball is life era, right? Where so many guys, have all these highlights and all this stuff,
Yeah,
but they're necessarily not complete basketball players, right?
right.
Now, my area, there was no internet, there was no, none of that. You had to earn your name. But in your son's era, it's a lot of clickbait stuff. So, do you think that affects him in any way? Of like, you know what, maybe this dunk might be a windmill dunk or a tomahawk dunk, rather than just a basic dunk, so I can get on Baller's Life or whatever the case is. How does your son feel about this new clickbait type of high school basketball?
We've had this conversation from the time he started playing basketball and so recently. Before, when he was a freshman and sophomore, I would say that it affected his confidence a lot, especially because he was comparing himself to guys his age and
Mm,
his size. And he didn't realize over time I had to sit down and tell him that these boys have been playing basketball since they were in fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade. You just started. I'd always tell him that you only have 24 months underneath your belt. These boys have years, and including they have uncles or fathers who are in the NBA. They
Hmm.
have a way bigger advantage than you. Does that mean they're better than you right now? Maybe. Does that mean they're better than you? No, not at all. Your goal is to play against them in real life, have someone record it in real time, and see who you really are. And he's had that opportunity. I won't name drop, but he's had that opportunity to play against a few players in California that are high profile kids. And was able to see himself on film and be like, did you see how I blocked that? Did you see I stole the ball? Did you see? So I felt like that gave him more confidence and pulled him outside of the box of focusing so much on the social media. Um, I tend to take him away from social media during the seasons because everything can just be Lord of Illusions for him. And I do take the initiative to record all his games. On my Instagram, I feel like every time there's a game, I have a game time and I record the entire game. The ugly shots, the good shots, the other team's shots, everybody's shots. So it's a fair visual of what's really going on outside of those highlights. And I noticed that him and his teammates watch my story after the games because I want them to understand that there's more than what you're seeing on the ball is life or the hoop spill or the on the radar. They're only going to show what they need to show and who paid them to show it.
Mm.
So if you really want to know where you're failing or where you're good at and you want to build your confidence or work on something that is your weak point, go watch the film, you
Hmm.
know? So I feel like that's been an advantage for him as he's gotten older. It's always a rule, put the phone away. Don't look at anything. Don't really read up on a player unless you're going to play against him. Don't worry about what he's got going on and what he's doing, unless that's going to be the team that you're going to be playing this month. Then I advise you go to the gym during that boys game and watch the whole team play. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? So you can have a really clear advantage of what you're going to get yourself into. So that's the only advice I can give him right now. Will that hold throughout college? I hope so. But the way social media is going, I don't know.
I think, yeah, it's hard to kind of not look on social media. I mean, you
Yeah.
can kind of like zero dark 30 it or something like that to kind of like keep your mind off of what you need to keep your mind off of. But like yeah, like you said, just focus on yourself. That would be my advice. Like, when somebody else is highlight dunking or whatever, I'm in the gym working on my game, and eventually you'll pass them. A lot of the
Hmm.
guys who was ahead of me, especially my junior year, I passed them my
Hmm.
senior year. Now, I didn't pass everybody, but you know what I'm saying? Like I passed a lot of guys who was ranked ahead of me. And then like I played against a couple of them, you know what I'm saying? So, and I played against a couple of them in college and so on and so forth. So yeah, it definitely, like I said, I was just wondering because now it just seems like, it's Twitter finger guys who ain't never really hooped, telling you like your son should be doing this and this and that. I'm like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
like,
hear that
man,
all the time.
yeah, like you ever played basketball besides PlayStation 5? You know what I'm saying? NBA 2K? You know what I'm
I would
saying?
say the worst is when you actually have grown men talking sideways about your kid and you have to refrain yourself from responding.
Yes, yes,
That's on Twitter a lot. You know,
yeah.
sometimes they love my son and they think he's an amazing player. He makes one bad play in one
He's
game.
sorry. He sucks. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
terrible. It's
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. Trust me, my father had to sit at the top of the stands
Hmm.
because he hated what fans would say.
Yeah.
So instead of him like literally like loking up and about to put his hands on a person, he rather sit up at the top, like where he could just watch
Can't hear
me,
anything.
can't hear anything, only want to watch me play, can't hear the fan, only can hear is the cheering or non-cheering,
Hmm.
Um,
Well, sometimes I find myself sitting with the opponent team and their cheer crowd. And I do that on purpose to regulate my nervous system, for one, and
no, no, I get it.
for two, to learn what the future has ahead for me. It's not always going to be pretty. Not everybody's going to be my son's fan. I'm well aware of that. So I want to hear everything. I want to feel everything. I want to be able to handle everything. And then be able to walk away still knowing that the work that I put in with my son throughout the week or throughout the month is still going to pay off regardless. It really does. It does help with your morality, you know. And that's one of the hardest things that you have as a mom, as a single mom, as a basketball mom, when it's just you and that boy in the gym. What do you say after a defeat? There's always great things to say after a win, you know, but what kind of words do you use after a defeat when it's just you and him? And that's something that I've had to learn over time because I used to be a little overwhelming, like, you should have did this and you should have did that and why didn't you do this? And then I had to sit back and think about like, well, what would you do if you were 6'10" and you had people elbowing you in the ribs and pulling your jersey down and, you know, trying to elbow you in the face and scratching your arms and scratching your neck, and how would you put yourself in that, on top of trying to stay out of your own thoughts during those plays. So I did a lot of sitting down with a lot of different coaches and basketball mentors, old NBA players, and asked them a lot of questions throughout the years. What do I do? What do I say? A lot of them be like, well, I'll talk to them for you. And then thank you, but I'm the one who lives with them. So what do I say? You know? And it was always just the advice of just be the nurturing person that you are, but stand on it and tell them this is what you really have to work on if you want to get better. So, once in a while we'll bump heads because he doesn't want to hear it, but he'll come out of his room a couple hours later and be like, you let me see that video. Did I really do that? And I'm like, yeah, you did. We can
Yeah.
watch it together. This is something that you can improve on, but just really being a major support system and a nurturer. It's a hard balance to have. And on top of having your own stress of coaches texting you and telling you what their input is, and you know the game just ended an hour ago, and I definitely got anxiety a few times from coaches. Chris needs to do this, Chris needs to do that, Chris needs to do, and it's just like, I got you. um I'm just his mom, but now I'm the whole shebang, so you know I
Yeah,
got it,
no,
I got it.
you got it. You definitely got it. Um, and like I said, we can sit here and talk for hours about this. And like I said, I think you've done a great job, because
Thank
he's a
you.
tremendous player,
Thank you.
and he seems like a really, really good, down to earth kid. And yeah, like I said, I just want to keep giving you your flowers, and
Thank you.
throughout the season of his senior year, I definitely bring you back on so we can get an update of what he's doing, how he's doing, how's his recruiting going. I know that now you don't have to pass the SAT, which sucks because I had to pass the SAT and it was tough.
Oh,
Shoot.
he's gonna still pass SAT. I don't care. We
Oh,
got
okay, okay,
we
okay.
got real good universities we're trying to go to. We're not, we have to aim high.
No, yeah, no, no. I remember going to UCLA, you had to take the SAT too. So you had to
Oh,
first pass the SAT, then take the SAT too. And I was just like, man, I passed the SAT. Ain't I going to college? And they're like, no, you got to take this so they can place you in the class. I'm like, oh my
right.
God. You know what I'm saying? So I think, yeah, like I said, sky's the limit for Chris. I think he's a great,
Thank
great player. And then, like I said, next time, I know this summer is going to be a busy, busy, busy summer for y'all. So
Yeah, he's gonna go play with Team Halliburton back home. We're going back home to Milwaukee, Wisconsin for the AAU season.
okay,
And
okay.
then he's gonna be doing a lot of Native American tournaments, NABI, N7, which is all west out in Denver at the end of March. A few other Native American tournaments. Hopefully we get to go back to Hawaii. We'll keep our fingers crossed on that. But yeah, it'll be a busy spring and summer.
Okay. Well, like I said, just keep me posted. Like I said, I'll definitely be looking out for him. I mean, along with like my son, like I said, like, he's gonna be doing the AAU circuit. Maybe not, he's not gonna be traveling as much as that. But I will be looking out for Chris and making sure, now, checking up with you and all that
Thank
about him.
you. Thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Mom. Like I said, it's been a long time coming. She told me a while ago, and I was like, I'm gonna get you on, I'm gonna get you on, you know, So now, like I said, I'm like, nah, okay, we getting you on. Like I said, like to say shout out to everybody. Like, share, subscribe. I still got that Travis Reed merch, that TR, keep growing the merch. Hit your boy up, DMs or message me. Like I said, follow the page, A Athlete's Journey on YouTube, on Spotify, on iHeartRadio, on the Belief Network, all that stuff, y'all. All right. Peace.